out of all the people that you trained and all the people that you managed, out of all the people that you saw come through your teams, what do you think was the number one thing that the very best people that you trained, what is the number one trait that you think all of them had in common? If you had to trace it to one thing, and maybe there was multiple, what do you think was that number one trait that they all had?
Like, what would be the number one quality? Sounds really generic, but honestly, somebody that just refuses to give up. Like, I had some of the dorkiest ass looking people come out and I was like, dude, I don't think they're gonna make it work. But they just had short-term memory, zero emotional investment into it. They just didn't give a shit how much they heard no. They just kept plugging along. They were not gonna get beat.
And guys, the thing that I want you to listen to as we're talking about these questions is I want you to see, okay, like we're talking about, okay, what's the number one trait? I want you to ask yourself first, do you have that trait? And if you don't have that trait, how can you develop that trait? So I want to kind of second what Dave said is the people that I saw do the very, very, very best were people that of course didn't take no, but they were also the people that were sponges. They didn't know everything, or even if they did, they were the ones that even when they had the deals, they were the first ones to the meetings. We used to have these meetings. I know Dave, you guys used to do these too. We'd have these things called bagel meetings. And it was like, basically you don't have that much free time anyway, but if you don't sell, we're going to take another hour of your free time and talk even more sales into your brain. And the people that I saw do the best, whether they sold or whether they didn't, they were showing up to those meetings because their mentality was like, if I can get one more nugget that I can apply and get one more deal, that's going to help me. And that's going to translate into X amount of dollars. So I can literally tell you guys, there was a guy, this person had all the traits of a serial killer. If you guys have seen BTK, that documentary, that shit is crazy, by the way. But I'm talking like so obsessive about the smallest details. You couldn't even watch this person get in a car and put their seatbelt on because it would just drive you nuts. Weird as hell. I'm going to be a little TMI here, but this is like somebody who was a virgin at this point and they were about to get married and they were talking about how they were going to ravage their girlfriend on wedding night. Just to kind of paint a picture for you, some of you guys are like, holy shit, what did I just tune into? First of all, I went to the other manager and I said, why the hell is he out here? Why is he part of our office? Like, he is the dorkiest. He should literally be in a lab somewhere taking blood samples or looking at some Rubik's Cube. Why is he out here? And what's crazy about this specific individual is as annoying, as weird, as really disgusting as they were, they kept asking questions. Just like Dave said, they wouldn't take no. They didn't feel the rejection and they kept going and going and going. And by halfway through the summer, I was like, dude, this person's going to be so damn broke. They're not going to have money to get home. Guess what? The last half of the summer, they figured shit out and they ended up beating some of the people that came out that I would have put all my money on. They ended up outselling them and they were, I'm not kidding. Like, I know even saying the BTK, it doesn't even like properly describe. I know, Dave, you probably had some weirdos. Here's my question for you and follow up to that is like, if somebody doesn't have that trait, let's say somebody on this call, they just naturally, like, their initial knee-jerk reaction is when they get rejection, they kind of like go into a shell, they shut down, they quit. Is that something that you can teach? Is that something that you can learn? Or is it like you're born with it or you're not?
I think it's a little bit of both. I owe a lot of who I am today from my dad. Growing up in a small town in athletics, just I think that environment, God, even then, to be honest, like I feel like that was taught. So who knows how much I was necessarily born with it as opposed to just how I was raised. So if you weren't raised that way, then I guess take mental note. I grew up softer. I didn't have a very disciplined household. You know, I don't have much of an athletic background. Things were pretty smooth and easy growing up. So I guess if you're aware of it, you're old enough as an adult to flip that switch and say, all right, I got to remove the emotions from it, because whether was door-to-door sales or it's this, you know, I've seen recent posts in the group about like, oh, so-and-so got a call from Angie's List and they're trying to steal my people, or it's just like, you can't be emotionally tied to anything. Otherwise, your heart's too much in it and you want to be even keeled the whole time. You don't want to be the guy that's just freaking jacked when he makes a sale and then depressed as shit and needs to be picked up off the floor when something goes wrong. You just got to be freaking steady as hell. Just keep grinding.
Isn't that funny? I feel like that's the same thing with sports too, is like the people that are emotional, those people are fun to watch. Like you're talking about like the Draymond Greens, but the people that are steady Eddie, even kill, the Steph Currys, if you're talking about that same team, by the way, not a Steph Curry fan, but the people that are steady Eddie, they never get too excited. They never get down. Those are the people that perform. I think emotion's good, but I think that the best performers, they rarely show emotion.